Come on, Gizmo, let her rip. That's how we all learn.
Thursday.
Nice shining.
Did you get kicked by a donkey?
All of a sudden, I'm too damn interesting to drain anyone. Ooh, same thing happened when I came back from Vietnam.
What?
You in there?
Guillermo's ankle is healing up nicely.
You are such a miracle worker.
But just to be safe, I say we put him down.
FX is What We Do in the Shadows. All new Thursday at 10 on FX. Stream on Hulu.
Don't sing if you want to live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world.
You're listening to the League Podcast, The Vampire Council, Season 5, Episode 6, Urgent Care. I'm Matt Dursin.
Clay Inferno here on camera.
On camera. That was how this episode opened. It's more like, is this like a side story or a plot, like a season-long story arc? Lazlo, the scientist? Is this like something?
Well, I had thoughts about that immediately that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, all right.
Basically, yeah. I think that Nandor is Grampa Munster, because if you ever watch the Munsters, Grandpa was always down under in his lab, fucking around, making sure, Herman, drink this and you'll be a person again. But only it's a spell that lasts for 2 hours. Like, I feel like that's what
Right.
Nandor is doing now.
Lazlo or Nandor?
Lazlo.
Oh, yeah. I think that might be it. Like, that's kind of his thing this season, because he's experimenting mostly on Guillermo, but he's doing weird stuff with it. Now he's got frogs that can fly because he injected them with Guillermo's blood, and they also
have like
have
little
hair.
pompadours.
Yeah, and like just to jump ahead really quick, at the end of the episode when Nandor does see these frogs, he's like, "Why do they look like you?" It's just kind of hilarious. The frogs look like Guillermo. They are, I mean, like funny. You know, when they look at their eyes kind of look like his glasses. You know what I mean? And the hair and everything, and you know, Guillermo's kind of round. It is kind of funny.
Yeah, they do that close up where the thing like swims toward the camera.
Yeah. I don't want to get too far into the plot just yet, because I want to ask a quick question. I like your Munster theory, first of all. So
thank you.
Very well constructed. Maybe
I'm
that is
a big fan.
Maybe that
of
is
the
their
Munsters.
inspiration. Like, you know, it's because it's a vampire show, and the Munsters is kind of like.
And Grandpa Munster is the vampire.
That's correct. Yes.
Whereas we got a Frankenstein, we got a werewolf. None of it makes any sense.
No, it doesn't. But it's all the same.
Werewolf Kid. Why?
Genre. Yeah. I never watched a lot of Munsters. I should probably do
it's
that.
It's a very funny show.
Yeah. Just to say I did. But anyways, so I want to talk about this show, though. I want to talk about what we do in the shadows, and we've talked a lot, especially this season, I feel like, about guest stars and cameos and guest appearances. I don't know if this is my favorite or not, but it's right up there. John Slattery as John
It's
Slattery.
a guy from Mad Men.
Yeah, you're the guy.
Where's your
from Mad
martini?
Yeah, so I don't know if this has happened before. It probably has in the history of the show, but this person's playing themselves. Usually, like Mark Hamill came on as, you know, as a vampire, and different people are. But this, I don't know if it's happened where this actor is playing themselves. I guess it happened on the Vampire. No, maybe not. It's probably never happened. It doesn't matter. It's hilarious. John Slattery, there's something about him, though, that always cracks me up no matter what he's doing. It's his delivery, or there's just a way he talks that is just so funny to me. And
both him and John Hamm are natural comedic actors, even though like Mad Men was like a serious show. Those guys are very funny whenever they're on.
Yeah, no, it's true. And even though it was a serious show, I think John Slattery had all the best lines when it came to like funny lines. He was so good
like
at that
kind of
show.
deadpan, but just kind of wise ass.
Yeah, like he just like kind of like this kind of like whatever, but yeah, definitely a wise ass kind of thing. Even like in like Endgame, right, when he's playing Howard Stark, and he's like Robert Downey Jr. says, "How far along is she?" Because this is his dad, but he doesn't, John Slattery doesn't know, and he kind of just motions with, because it's him. He's the baby that is. He's talking about his pregnant wife, and it is Tony Stark is the pregnant wife, is the child, and he's like, and he says, "How far along is she?" And he kind of just motions with his hand, like to say like this far, like he just puts his hand out in front of his stomach, like he does. Is there something about it? He's like, well, she's at the point where she can't stand the sound of my chewing. So I don't know. It's just really funny.
Which is also like a Roger Stone thing. Roger Stone, not Roger Stone, Roger Sterling.
It is a Roger Sterling kind of thing to say that. Maybe that's like, I don't know if that's like part of the actor inhabiting the role or whatever that is. But the great thing is he's a total actor in this episode too. We'll get there. I want to talk, because I think there's a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack, as they say.
A lot in the hopper.
A lot in the hopper. Yeah. It starts out, as we pointed out, Lazlo has been experimenting with frogs, and so he calls Gizmo right off the bat. He says, "Where's Nandor?" And there's a few jokes in here because he says Nandor is indisposed in his room. He's like, I forget the Palmer and the 5 milkmaids or something. Somebody Palmer and the 5
Mary
milkmaids.
Palmer and her 5 milkmaids.
Yeah.
And then he says something about like, once he's done making pearl jam.
I know, pearl jam. A lot of his masturbation jokes here. Classic. So he's not around, so he won't see what they're doing. And I love even Lazlo says later, like, we have about 5 minutes or so. Like he knows exactly how long it's going to take Nandor to finish, I guess. But
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, that was like a quick. He's got his frogs in a little cardboard box. He throws them off the balcony, and they fly, and it's remarkable, like, so it's obviously he thinks it's Guillermo's blood that is making them do this. So he's like, "Now you have to jump, and you will fly." He's like, I don't think that's a good idea. And he's like, "Why don't we do it from a lower?" Because he also is like, he calls him shithead.
Therefore, ipso facto shithead, you can fly too.
Yeah, he's ipso facto shithead. So I love it. He just kicks the railing. He's like, "Yeah, just jump off this balcony." And Guillermo doesn't want to do, but like he's like, "Yeah, you could." He finally convinces him, and he kind of just like sort of tips over, and he floats there. Like 1 foot though is still kind of hanging on, which I think is kind of hilarious. Like he's not flying, but he is floating. He's totally parallel to the floor. They're like, "Wow, hey, I'm doing it." And then Nandor opens his door, and he asks for Guillermo, and Guillermo just flops.
Yeah, he just
horrible
falls.
Yeah, just belly flop right to the ground. Yeah, and his foot is actually twisted completely around, which is just so gross. They're like, "Oh, Guillermo, what happened?" And then Colin Robinson comes in, and he's got a black eye, and they're more concerned about that. Like, "Where'd you get that china?" And they're asking him all these questions. He doesn't really want to answer it because it's too interesting a story. He hasn't fed in a while because he has all these interesting things happening to him.
He's become too interesting.
Yeah.
When you said that was in the description last week, I was like, what could that mean? And I love how they did this.
Yeah, well, it was in the teaser, the line about him being in Vietnam, and Nandor says, "You're in Nam." I love the way he's.
Thank you for your service, Colin.
Yeah, right.
Curbcast.
But he wasn't in Vietnam. They said, "You're in the army?" Because, vampires live for so long. Of course, he could have been in that. But no, it's a couple years ago, he went on a biking trip to Vietnam. Like, oh, so you weren't in Nam. When you say, like, you were in Vietnam, it's pretty much means you served there. And he's like, "No, I went on a hiking trip."
A biking trip.
Yeah,
and
a biking trip. I'm sorry, not a hiking trip. Yeah.
They saw a dead man in a tree, and they had an ox's asshole around his neck. They're like, really? They're hanging on every word, and if he's too interesting, he's like draining his energy.
Right. Apparently, that's the thing in Vietnam, in vampire lore, or at least as far as what we do in the shadows. That's like if you're too interesting, not only do you not feed, but in fact, I think it drains your energy, or it seems like it is. That's the case.
And they're
Yeah.
all trying to figure out how he got the black eye in the first place. And he's
Right.
like, they're like, I really can't.
Yeah, they
Lazlo's
can't.
like, I want to
he
hear
doesn't-
more of these stories.
Yeah, and he's like,
And Nadja's like, how did you get this? And he's like, it's a remarkable story.
I know. Well, first of all, the Vietnam thing, which is great because it was an unexploded landmine, which is apparently that's still a thing. But
That
yeah,
is a
like,
very
that's
serious
what
thing.
exploded the ox, and it ended up with the asshole.
And the
on the
asshole
guy's
went around the
neck.
guy's neck.
Yeah, so apparently the story of the black eye is one of those things that drops out of an airplane, like the bathrooms, like the refuse, I guess you could say, like landed on the car next to him, and the mirror went flying off and hit him in the eye.
Yeah. And Nadja goes, frozen blocks of pisses and shits. What will
Yeah.
they think of next?
I know, she thinks that like piss and shit, fall out of planes. But apparently that is a thing. But yeah, meanwhile, Guillermo's still lying on the floor, like moaning. And then they all kind of have to decide, like, well, who's going to take him to the doctor? And like,
Right.
they're trying to get Nandor. He's like, well, he's your familiar. But Nandor doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
And
he
then-
said, I bought him a pair of trousers a year ago. It's your turn.
Yeah, so it ends up being Nadja. Like, she's literally pushing him through like this sort of parking lot in a shopping cart. It's just hilarious. But the thing is, he feels a doctor would discover his vampire blood. So like he doesn't want to go. And he's like, oh, I'm fine. And she feels that if she takes him which she does take him to like a vet, which has a little back room, which is for vampires. It's like the vampire doctor.
The familiar
Yeah.
vet.
I guess it is, yeah, because like it's basically pets. They're basically pets, right? Or at least that's how they're treated in this episode.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I love how this doctor is always just like, well, we're gonna have to put him down, no matter what the problem is.
Yeah, so you recognize that guy, right? Like just from stuff. Did you recognize him?
I haven't looked him up yet, but
Well, this guy's name is Wayne Fetterman. This is awesome. He became known for appearing in just one scene in a film and then disappearing. He calls it the Fetterman and out.
he's been on Curb.
Yeah, he's been on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he's been on
Just for
couple
like one,
episodes of Curb.
and he's never a recurring character. He just does one thing and he's gone.
He does one scene and then leaves. Wow, pretty impressive.
But he is hilarious, that guy.
But I have literally seen like all of these shows. I'm
Yeah,
looking him
you've
up
seen
on
it.
IMDb
I
right
guarantee
now.
it.
I've definitely seen
The
this guy.
Fetterman and out.
Wow, good for him. Make a whole career out of that. He definitely looked familiar, but I'm like, I don't know his name. I don't know anything about him, but amazing. But yeah, his theory for everything is, oh, we're just gonna put him down. Just to get. There was one person who had brought their familiar in, one vampire brought their familiar in, and they said, well, they're like 40, so you're only gonna get a couple more good years out of him anyway. So like, I think 40 to a vampire being 40, you're like half dead, or I guess if it's like dog years or something, you know what I mean? Or like,
Yeah, they have no concept of time. And then
yeah.
he was talking about after they put down their familiar, they're like, yeah, I just picture them with all their other familiar friends dreaming about eating spaghetti or whatever it is they dream about.
Eating spaghetti. What a weird, looking at rainbows and eating spaghetti or something, I think was the line. It's just
Oh, and Nadja's like, oh, they're probably in a better place. And she's like, I wish I was in a better place.
yeah, she doesn't want to sit around and talk to these vampires. But the other thing is, she's afraid that they're going to take blood and discover his Van Helsing heritage. And they might
That's
want
right.
to kill him for that reason.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of the dynamic there with Guillermo. Is like, no, don't let them, he doesn't want his blood taken because they're going to find out he has vampire blood, and then she doesn't want him to discover the Van Helsing blood. So it's an interesting thing.
Because ultimately the vampires care about Guillermo and the guide too, but also they pretend that they don't.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, they don't want to. They don't want him to seem like they care about him, but obviously they do. Meanwhile, I want to, because this is an the story goes back and forth, and Professor Lazlo has Nandor and Colin Robinson both lying. It looks exactly like Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, I think, or something, right? With like the two things,
totally.
everything in the head. Yeah.
And probably 10 episodes of the Munsters. Like, Harry,
probably.
lay down on here.
And they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm going to transfer the Nandor's energy into Colin Robinson. And Nandor says, I have one question. Will it hurt? And I don't remember his answer. I think he's like, no, but he doesn't know because he doesn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, he says that it's going to be a pain unimaginable, but it's like while he's already doing it.
Is that what he said? No,
he's already doing it. So it wasn't a warning at all.
Right. Nandor says, instead of we do this thing, why don't we just put some makeup on his eye? We go out in the street and just have him drain people.
And this was funny too. He's like, look at these losers.
I know.
Colin's
they go
like,
out in the street.
Outdoor diners? Yeah, they totally deserve it.
Yeah, that'll work. So he starts walking towards these two people who have a doggy bag, and he starts to try to tell them the origin of the doggy bag, which is so weird. And then he gets his foot run over by John Slattery. So that's just another great story, because then that attracts all these people. Well, first they're like, hey, why's that guy hopping around? And he's trying to finish his story about doggy bag.
Because after World War II, people brought the food home for their dog. And he's like, ow.
He's hopping around, and they're like, what's that guy dancing around? So, yeah, everybody comes out, and they all got their phones out, and they're recording him doing this.
Capturing it,
Yep. John Slattery backs up. Yeah, and he's like, hey, and they're like, oh, it's John Slattery. Yeah, so like it's this great, it becomes a great story, obviously. It's not boring anymore.
Yeah, and John Slattery's like, I played a doctor last year on an episode of the good fight, and then some girl turns the camera around. She's like, yeah, I saw that. It was a great episode.
That was a great episode. And then so he's like, let me take you to the doctor, and they're like, no. And they're like, well, let me take you home. And so they're like, okay. So like Nandor says we can get in the back of his car. It'll just be us and him, and you can drain him. So
and Nandor says shotgun left, and then he goes into the right side of the car in the back.
I didn't notice. Shotgun left.
They always do that too. They always stick the I don't know, maybe because they want to have the cameraman in the passenger seat, but like the vampires in the back.
You can film everybody that way, But meanwhile, John Slattery has to take like 10 selfies with everybody who's there. So he sits down.
And some guy's like, it's so nice. John Slattery's helping the guy. He just ran him over.
Yeah, I know. I love these like all these dopes, these losers, as he calls them. But yeah, they're all really funny. So yeah, he's driving along, and like Nandor's like, well, is it hard being a celebrity? And so like they think he's gonna like just tell this boring story. And well, he is actually, because he starts asking about Colin Robinson's accent and where he came from. Like, where are you
Colin
from?
Robinson's like doesn't have enough energy to drain him. It's kind of like backfiring on him. And John Flaherty's like, wow, it's so your accent's so interesting. I love accents.
Yeah, like where is that? It's like Wisconsin, like and I love it. They even they throw a little Boston in there. It's he's in Spotlight, and he's like, oh yeah, the movie about the the Boston Globe reporters who uncover the scandal in the Catholic Church, the abuse scandal, and he's like, yeah, he's like, no, I haven't seen it. But then he starts talking about like the accent, but it's not a real Boston accent. He's a little more, like a little more high end or whatever. He's like, it's not like you're up at Kelly's Tavern in Revere Beach. I love his Boston accent. And so but this is like hard. This is really boring. And Colin Robinson's actually getting drained from this because he's trying to like get him to. He's not working. Like he keeps. That's really funny.
And
eventually,
headed toward Brooklyn or something.
Yeah.
Like, are we going? I don't want to go to Brooklyn. And then John Flaherty's just like repeating him. I don't want to go to Brooklyn. I can listen to you all night.
Yeah, he's like, there's a certain cadence that you pause in between words sometimes. It's just so fascinating. And finally, Colin Robinson turns to him and says, let's get the fuck out of here. And they jump out of the moving car. And I think John Slattery just keeps going. I don't think he even stopped.
Yeah, he's still talking.
Yeah. It's just so funny. I think that's the last we see of John Slattery, at least in this episode. So I hope. But if they bring him back, man, I'm on board for that. He's very funny.
This is a good one.
Meanwhile, so yeah, back at the urgent care, Nadja finally decides because the doctor, of course, Wayne Fetterman, says, yeah, we're gonna put him down. We're just gonna take one more blood sample because we thought something was a little strange. So she's like, all right, fuck
because
that.
his foot healed really quickly.
Yes, that's right. And so she's like, and Nadia's like, no, I'm just gonna go get him out of here because she doesn't want to discover the Van Helsing blood and whatever. And she's going around and she finds the guide in the back. She's like, I didn't know you worked here. She's like, oh, I volunteer. And
it's just kind of like all those people that are kind of a little annoying about adopting dogs and stuff. And it's like, who rescued who?
Yeah,
it's a way of giving back.
It's a way of giving back.
And this place is for strays, and some guy's like in a cage, and he's like, I have a family. Eat your chicken.
Yeah, he's like, eat your chicken. I know, that was a nice little guide cameo.
She's so funny.
Yeah, Kristen Shaw, man. So yeah, when she finds the room that Guillermo's in, they were gonna put him down. She comes to his rescue because, as you said, they actually do like Guillermo. I don't even remember exactly. Maybe you can. Sorry, I just watched this literally like 2 hours ago. But through the course of events, she finds out that he had been turned. I guess the doctor.
Oh yeah, because the doctor, she's like, oh, I'm just gonna take him home, and the doctor's like, well, who turned him?
Right.
And she's like, what? Yeah, he's not a vampire. Who turned him? The blood test came back that he's part vampire, but he's still transforming.
Yeah, that's right. The doctor says that's exactly the line. Who turned him? Yeah. And so she's like, no one turned him. No one in our house would do that.
And he says something really funny because he's like, we can't let a monstrosity like that out on the streets. I'm going to lose my medical license. He's a vampire, he's like familiar veterinarian doctor that's like super powered. Yeah, I'm going to lose my medical license.
Yeah, she fights off the nerd. There's like, I don't know what to call them, but they have these giant metal things on their heads. They're like the technicians or whatever. She punches one into the grate of this giant metal thing that the person has.
It was actually a pretty good fight all around. Yeah, I liked it.
I was thinking that for a show like a comedy show that doesn't really do this stuff that's much, it's pretty interesting. Nadja is very like, it's great, and yeah, so her and the doctor end up struggling. He's got a syringe with, I guess, whatever it was he was going to poison Guillermo with, and it's. Like Guillermo is still tied to this bed thing, but he ends up breaking free.
He kind of like realizes he has vampire strength, or like he uses telekinesis definitely to get himself out of that situation.
Yeah, he uses telekinesis to throw stuff at the vampire doctor. But yeah, it's really funny too because at one point he actually is like poking her cheek. It's almost like when you go to the dentist or something, you like because her mouth gets all swollen. It's like it's like she had. Novocaine or something. She's like, but yeah, they finally do fight off the doctor, and he gets stabbed with his own syringe. Yeah, they get the hell out of there. So, but now Nadja knows his secret. So Nadja and Lazlo both know.
Yeah, and she's like, Nander's gonna be so pissed at you, and he's gonna kill you, but she does defend him from the doctor.
Yeah. And then he tells her the story that it was Derek. And she's like, Derek, you could have had this great legendary vampire turn you. It's almost like virginity, right?
Yeah, that's definitely what she was going for. You just gave it away to Derek.
Yeah, gave it away to Derek. And meanwhile, so with one more chance, Colin Robinson now has to be like carried by Nandor because he's so weak. And they go into like a store, just like a convenience store, thinking like there'll be some real, people in here that he could drain. And then it's in the middle of a holdup. And the guy with the gun, as soon as they walk in, he goes, hey, you're the guy from TikTok. Yeah.
And then they show it to Nandor and Colin Robinson. And Nandor's like, how did they do it so quick? Oh, and the music?
I know, he's like very impressed. How did it happen so quickly? And it's just him hopping around, and it's got like the emojis and everything, just like
how did they do it so quick?
The hearts flying around, and it's like, oh no, like it's not And the guy with the gun is so impressed. He's distracted, and the store owner comes and whacks him with a baseball bat and knocks him out. And then he's like, "Thank you for saving my store." It's like another good story to tell.
Yeah, it's too interesting.
Right. I love the playing with Colin Robinson in this episode. It's just so funny. They finally go back home, and they're gonna do the energy transfer thing that they tried to do before, and it didn't work. So I'm throwing the switch, I think he says, and it works. And like Colin Robinson is a little more vibrant, or like himself. But then they how's Nandor?
It's like turning him on. He's like, well, I did this
right.
to combat whiskey dick.
Yeah,
he's like, well, it's working. He's like, no, I took that part out. Must be the vibrations.
Yeah, I know. He's getting a little tickle. I got a little tickle in my pickle, he says, right? But I love whiskey dick. It's such a great. They're like, how's Nandor? And they look over, and he's like dead. Basically, he's sitting there with his
totally
mouth.
fried him.
Yeah, like, oh shit. And then I guess so. Did Nadja and Guillermo come home right at that moment, and Lazlo kind of leaves? Oh yeah, no, I remember. No, Colin Robinson says, "You take, I'll take care of him. If I can drain energy, I can also put it back."
Yeah, and he starts telling him interesting stories.
Yeah, he tells him the story that his
full name and that he used to date Davy Crockett.
I know, him and David Crockett, and he's like, and this knife that came from Jim Bowie. It's so weird. But yeah, like his real name, whatever his real name is, I forget it now. It's like Adam, whatever, Adam something, whatever. His initials are ASS. It's like so that's why he changed his name, because his name was actually Ass.
But Nandor starts to kind of wake up. He's like, oh, really?
He's like, what is it? Yeah, he starts really listening to him. He's like, oh. I thought that was really funny. They go back. Yeah, Lazlo and Nadja both know the secret now, so it's kind of like, oh, what are we going to do? Nandor comes out, and he's looking at Guillermo, and he's kind of like, he looks like he's going to grab him right by the throat, but he reaches and he grabs one of the frogs. Which I guess there's only one frog left, right? The other two fell. I presume they died, but this is the last frog.
They died. I don't know what happened in all. I thought there were three.
There were at the beginning, but it doesn't matter. So there's only one. There's one here, and he grabs it, and he's looking at it. He's like, why is this frog here? And he has this ridiculous theory. A mouse came in and
no, it's a bird. Remember, early in the season, he's like, there's a bird that is living in my room and try to become friends with him. Because he's like, this bird fucked a squirrel, and then it made this frog. All because Guillermo's not doing his duties.
Right. So he's like, he's mad at Guillermo for letting all these rodents in, I guess. I don't know. It's ridiculous. But then, I love you. Look, why does it have hair and kind of look like you? So, but then, I guess, like, to Colin Robinson's like, you might have fooled him because he's an idiot.
Yeah, he's as smart as Russian toilet water.
Yeah, right. Or smart as a Russian toilet or something. Yeah, there's definitely Russian toilet involved there somewhere. But he's like, but I know. And then he just says, I don't give a shit. So he just leaves. He doesn't care that if he's a vampire or anything.
I could give 2 squirts. It's like, I know you're up to something, but I could give 2 squirts.
Yeah, he doesn't care. That's pretty much it. I think there was a quick little bit, a little mid-credit sequence, but now it escapes me. I'm sorry to report. I think he was just doing more experiments, but I don't remember what they were. But
I think that was kind of maybe the part where Nandor was like coming back to life when he was explaining the David Crockett thing.
Well, yeah, there was a quick. I think he drank Lazlo drank like one of the, just like in a typical horror laboratory movie. It's like some sort of smoking liquid in like a beaker, and he just starts drinking.
Classic Grampa Munster move. By the way,
that's right. You're really right with this Grampa Munster, comparison.
But Grampa Munster had like a plan. He had a mission. He had to make sure that, I don't know, he had to transform them back into regular humans. Probably they probably did that 20 times on that show. But he was always like, "Oh, Herman, you should try this."
I really got to know more. I need to.
It'll make you really smart, and then you can go on the quiz show.
But that was this week's episode, Urgent Care. So I like the title. Sort of, it means like urgent care, like that's where they brought Guillermo, in a way, in a manner of speaking. Also, they need to urgently take care of Colin Robinson, and so I like that. It worked on multiple levels.
I liked how because they go into like a regular veterinarian's office, all these people with their dogs and stuff, and Nadja has to like, hypnotize her. This is just a big dumb Doberman with a floppy tail.
Yeah.
And she's about to walk through the wall, and Guillermo's like, no, it's a solid wall, and then it kind of like goes, poof.
Yeah.
And they go into the familiar hospital.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Great little special effects and fight scenes.
Yeah. I wonder if you went to your doctor's office and tried to walk through a wall, what would happen? Would there be a room back there? I don't know. Oh,
well, are you going to the vet or are you going to your
No,
doctor?
I guess you're right. I don't. Well, I could go to either one.
Try it the next time you're bringing the kitty cat to the vet.
I guess.
Try all the walls.
Try just it's a quick little push. Or do you have to be a vampire to get through it?
Yeah, maybe.
Curious. But
well,
then
they're bringing familiars back there, so no.
Right. And how would Guillermo? Well, as far as Nadja knew at the time. So yeah, I guess you just have to know.
I liked it when if you call back to the Vampire Council, when Guillermo had to go with the other familiars and there's like cats and stuff in there.
It's true. They really do.
The guy's like, you can stay in here.
I mean, a cat would make a great familiar, really, except like they can't really do anything like during the day while you're sleeping. I don't know. That's familiar territory as
familiar territory.
Good night, everybody.
Are you gonna write a spec script? Send it in.
Sure. I'm non-union, so maybe they need a
Don't be a scab.
Whatever. They'll just get AI to write all the scripts from now on.
Get this on camera.
You'll want to get this on camera. Yeah. So a quick little, since this is normally what we like to do at the end of, after we recap the latest episode. Next week, Hybrid Creatures, it's called. Nadja gives back to her community, and Lazlo's experiments have some unexpected results. More
Grampa Munster's experiments?
Yeah, more Grampa Munster type stuff going on next week. I don't know what that means, but they're unexpected results. So we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, a twist, I guess that Nadja and Lazlo now both know the secret. So we'll have to see what happens.
Colin could give two squirts.
And he could give 2 squirts, which I guess makes sense because he's an energy vampire, so it's a whole different thing. He doesn't care about the supposed humiliation, right? That Nandor would face.
Yeah, that's what Nadja was even saying to the doctors. Like, I'm going to bring him home to his master. It'll be his privilege to kill him.
Right. Yeah. So, well, I mean, there's only 3 left, I guess, or 4, I suppose. 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll have to see. What's going to happen with this? I assume they're just going to do it at the end. They're not going to do it in like episode 7. When they reveal to Nandor, if Nandor ever finds out, it'll probably be the last episode.
He's going to have to find out.
Or at the end of like a cliffhanger kind of thing, maybe, or something. I don't know. Well, we'll have to just wait and see.
And with the strike, we're going to have to wait a while.
Yeah, we might have to wait a while for any more seasons.
So we'll just live in the present and enjoy what we get.
Yeah, I guess that's basically it. Yeah, no word on that. I think that's what a lot of people are saying about this strike. Just wait and see. That's what we'll all do.
We're waiting.
We're waiting. Well,
Guillermo couldn't wait. He went to fucking Derek.
I know. He just gave it away.
Derek?
Daddy?
That's the way she says stuff.
I know. It's so funny. I like it on that she spits a lot. Like in like a disgusting, it's like a Greek, because she's getting into that old Greek like way of doing it, right?
And then like also like fighter badass, like puffing up her chest to take on Wayne Fetterman.
Yeah, Wayne Fetterman. And I suppose because that's what he does, we won't see him again. You never know.
Yeah, he might lose his license.
All right, I think we can wrap up there. Thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to check out all of our previous What We Do in the Shadows episodes on Spotify, but we're also on other platforms too, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's just go back.
It's easy to go to spotify.vampcouncil.com.
There you go. We have a new website. It's true, for this podcast. It's pretty cool. So you just go to vampcouncil.com and it will be there, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, check out all of our episodes there, and going all the way back to what I guess like season 3 is actually when we started. We didn't start.
Yeah, I think so.
One, but
Special Patreon bonus episodes down the line, especially if you have to wait for the White Writers strike. You just start
It's
over
true.
at the beginning.
We'll just have to. Yeah, good idea. We don't even have Patreon, but we will if it means going back. Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget, if you want to be added into our traditional sign-off, send us a video or audio recording of yourself saying bat at vampcouncil.com.
Very well.
All right, very well. And now we got to do our sign-off.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Who's going to count it? You want me to count it? I'll count it.
You count this
I'll
time.
count it. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Bam!
Fix it in post. Later, you fucks.
Later, you buck.
It's one of the hardest guitar pieces in the world to play.
Mm-hmm.